Sparksandblues is a platform where we bring you inspiring conversations and expert insights from leaders who are currently shaping the world around us today. Our topic for today is attaining C-suite positions in the corporate world. And joining us to take this conversation is Dr. Frank Ehalufo. Dr. Ehalufo is a seasoned dentist and healthcare professional with over 20 years work experience within the Nigerian healthcare industry. Dr. Ehalufo has been at the forefront of driving innovation in healthcare delivery and ensuring that countless Nigerians have access to quality care through effective health insurance systems. Beyond his professional accolades, Dr. Ehalufo is passionate about teaching and mentoring the next generation of healthcare professionals. Dr. Ehalufo graduated from the University of Ibadan with a degree in dentistry, and he also holds a master's in business administration from the Ladoke Akintola University of Science and Technology. He also holds a certificate in leadership from the University of Washington. We are thrilled to learn from his wealth of experience and gain his insight into how he attained his current position as the Chief Operations Officer at Great Nigeria Insurance Healthcare Limited. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Frank Ehalufo to the Sparksandblues podcast. Hello, Dr. Frank. It's great to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for honoring our invite to be a guest today at Sparksandblues. So Sparksandblues, like you must have definitely checked, is a podcast show where, we invite achieving professionals like you to help speak about real life stories, real life situations that will inspire our viewers. And the people watching us, especially the youths, because we realize that a lot of youths these days are clamoring for clarity with regards to career, chosen line of business, and all those kinds of things. So we decided to say, okay, why not? Let us set up this platform and bring in top professionals that are achieving in their various fields, and then they can talk about their real life stories that will then inspire people to know that you can actually make a great life from holding on and building a career.
It's great what you're doing at Sparksandblues, and the truth is that you're right. People do need some kind of, let me use the Nigerian parlance, ginger to get to where they ought to be. And I believe that this platform will greatly inspire a lot of Nigerian youths. And I'm sure it's a lot more people will be more successful.
I believe so. Thank you for that one. So I'll just introduce the topic, which I believe you're already aware of, but for the sake of our audience, your topic today is attaining C-suite position in the corporate world. I'm aware, Dr. Frank, that you recently got a role as the Chief Operating Officer at GNI, which is a HMO operating in Nigeria.
Yes, that's correct.
And congratulations, by the way. And I may not have heard about it long enough, but I'm sure you've been on this position for close to 2 years now.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And so I would like you to talk to us about your personal career journey.
Thank you very much. It's interesting that you put it like that, career journey. In the beginning, when one starts, you don't think of it like it's going to be a journey, But I feel that certain things started to play a role in where I wanted to go. I started out, of course, in medicine. I'm a dentist, by training dental surgeon. And so started out in clinics, but one of the things that I observed was I wasn't fully happy. So in trying to find a solution for myself, at some point I realized that I needed to move out of clinical. I needed more. Sometimes, in fact, I had a dream, I would say, where I wasn't just solving problems one at a time for individuals, I was solving problems for a larger group. So that encouraged me to say, look, sitting down in the clinic, taking care of one person at a time, perhaps is not the long-term vision. So I decided then to move out. First, I ventured into visual branding, visual communication. So then from there, I had to move again. Interestingly, another conversation happened with my younger brother. Interestingly, he asked me, if you want to transfer this your work life from this particular organization, then more advice was not, to another one in the same industry. Where a doctor would it be easy to transfer? And I thought long about it. I would need to do certifications. Is this what I would want to be? And I felt, okay, look, we spent 7 years studying in the University of Ibadan. We do something with it for a while. And so because of it, I looked at what are the alternatives. The HMO industry was one, and then
popping out at that time.
At that time, it was new, so it was an alternative to explore. So I applied to a few places, and eventually I got in 2010, and I got in Ibadan, and so I read a book, and then I attended a few conferences. In that book, they were encouraging that write out your vision for the next 5 years. What do you want to achieve? And it seemed like every other conference you attend, something similar was coming up. And so I wrote down in my diary then, I'm going to be a general manager in the next 5 years. For the tall dream. But I think that dream started to propel me. It gave me a focus point.
Wow.
Not just to be on the ground floor. 5 years came, 5 years. It seemed like it would never come, but it did come. I wasn't the general manager, but I realized that I had grown. In those 5 years, I grew from the ground floor to become an assistant manager in a top 4 HMO in Nigeria at that time. And then introspection. Again, I think a lot of things that I've noticed in life is the more I grow, the more conferences, books you read, senior people you talk to, you realize that it's important to do some introspection. So when I introspect, I now realize that some of the people who I started with in the same time in that HMO didn't get promoted. And then I started asking myself, what's the cause? And I realized that writing the goal to say in 5 years, I'll be a general manager, focused me. Everything else started to follow that. I knew I needed an MBA. I went after it.
Wow.
I needed to learn how to. I volunteered for things. So from that point, after the 5 years, the next focus for me was I want to be MBA. So that's what led to the journey, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you for that one, and of course I can relate vividly. It's so clear, and they say whatever your dreams are, if not yet written down, you are still sort of joking. So I think that would have gone a long way to really help you. So did you have mentors who guided you during this time?
Okay, so I think I'm slightly interesting. On the outward, I'm very outgoing, extroverted. But internally, I'm actually very introverted.
I can imagine that cloud thing.
Yes, so when I'm with people and I'm doing things, everybody thinks I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
But when I go back, I find it sometimes difficult to do those extroverted things alone, unless there's a task. So approaching people looking for mentorship was difficult for me.
Wow.
Until I read a book and then I spoke to my pastor. Because I approached him to be one of my mentors. And he said, have you read my books? At that time I said, just maybe one.
Yeah. They say give and take on the mentorship ladder.
So number one, he said, go and read the books. Go and listen to my messages.
Yeah.
Okay. So I took that literally. So what I now did was, there are some people in business space that I look out for their podcast. I look out for their short messages. I look out for if they have books. I read. Sometimes if they have conferences, I attend. Wow. So I may not have a one-on-one with all of them, but there are a few people that I still
that inspired you on your journey.
Exactly.
That their words such of touched you
a lot
and propelled you in your direction.
So there was a time when I had so in my life I had different focuses. So when it was my spiritual life, I had certain books I was reading. So I acquired the books of this person. When it came to work life, I started to acquire some certain books as well. I still remember reading Richard Templar, right? rule of work. So, but then about that, so as I meet them, there was a time when it was Robert Kiyosaki. I bought all his books at that time, and I was on. So I may not have so many physical, but now I have just two people that I talk to, but I still am very big on reading.
Sort of indirectly connecting to mentors.
Exactly. So because you need it.
Virtual mentors, more or less.
Yes, you need it. No matter how it is.
And that's big.
You need it. You need it.
Without it won't infusing.
Should I give you one story, an example? I lost my mom in 2018. So one of my mentors came to visit us, my wife and I, to commiserate and say sorry and all of that. After that event, he called me and my wife to his office, and he spoke with me and said, "Where you live, it doesn't quite project who you should be." Nobody had ever challenged me that way.
That's intensely.
And he said, "Hey, sorry, but if the way I interact, this needs to change." Interestingly, not only did he do that, he said, "Go and look for an apartment. I will give you part of the money." So I had no choice. I had to take that next level step. And I've had such interactions with that mentor, like that. It forces you to change some things.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. That's good. That's interesting to note. So, Dr. Frank, what would you consider to be your leadership style and philosophy? Also, the second part of that question would be, how do you balance the demands of leadership with the need for innovation and flexibility?
You give me a very tough one. Okay, so for me, I'm very ethereal. So a lot of things that I read, I want to create. So,
right.
Or I imagine and I want to create.
Yeah.
So I am very hands-on, but as much as possible, I look out for people who I connect to in the team, and I'm trying to inspire them with things that I've learned. So I'm telling them a vision. I'm teaching them this is where I want us to go. I don't always do that with the entire group. I pick people who can become champions of what we're trying to do. If I can find one champion, I stay with that one until they become 3, until they become 4. So I do that. But I'm also very hands-on. I've gone through, I'm in the HMO space now, past decade and a half or thereabouts. I've gone through a lot of departments. I have phases, I have understanding of things. So I just go one-on-one. I don't try to be very detailed in terms of transactional every event. No. I want you to grow in your own space, so I show you how. I allow you to make a mistake, you come back, you review it. So I will not be micromanaging anyone, that's not my style.
So you give room for your people to be flexible.
I want your own expression. This is what I want you to do. I want to see you infuse yourself into it, your style. So if there's something wrong with the style, we'll discuss it. What the outcome,
adjustment,
and then what the outcome of the adjustment. But I recently found that there's a very big interest now in my heart about technology.
Right.
I'm very big now to say how can we all infuse technology, because the world is changing. The world is.
I say that again.
As things get better. So now when I'm talking to my people, I'm directing them towards. So I'm known sometimes to share some sites with people. Have you checked this on LinkedIn? Have you checked this on Excel? Have you looked at this training? So I do that as well. So those are the kind of things that I do. Yes.
That's great to hear. I know that these days there are a lot of trends and shifts occurring. So within the health insurance space where you belong, and we are playing on a bigger level now, what are those trends and shifts that you are keeping close eye on that you think Great Nigeria insurance healthcare should begin to look towards? What are those trends that you are hoping that, as the Chief Operating Officer at the GNI, you are keeping eyes on, and you want these things to sort of profit or benefit your organization?
Okay, so one major trend, let me start from technology, is AI. Everyone is talking AI, but I'm very conscious about how AI can help our business. thinking how can AI help our operations make things easier and faster. So, for instance, I'm having conversations with our tech providers and asking them, how can we adjust this? How can we adjust this? Because business advice should be received, if possible, ahead of events.
Definitely.
And not
so that
you can be proactive, yes.
Yeah.
So that you're not at the end of the day, you're always reacting to things and you're already too late.
Yeah.
So we're trying to infuse that and we're looking at that. But I also look at basic trends. I look at things like a lot of HMOs now are considering backward and forward integration by acquiring hospitals and all of that. I analyze that trend. It started a couple of years back now, maybe some 10 years or more back, when people now started to look at some models that have worked like that. So I look at those kinds of trends. How is it beneficial financially? How is it beneficial operationally? How is it beneficial even to the end user?
Yeah.
You know? So I look at that. But interestingly, from that trend, it's making me move away from that trend. And I hope it will allow us to explore potential areas of partnerships that could be beneficial to Nigeria and hopefully to GNI as Kennington.
All right, that's great. So what I hear you say, you need to correct me if I'm not wrong. What I thought I heard you say is you used to sort of buy into those trends of probably acquiring hospitals as an HMO. Yes. But these days, or right now, you leading an HMO as the chief operating officer, you've come to realize that you are no longer caught out with such trends. Yes. Was that what I heard you say?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
That's
okay.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, I also want to agree with you that, when you get more grounded, especially at the level you are in now, you will see things differently. This is not us saying, it's a negative thing to do. That's not the point. But I'm sure you have your own reasons, which you definitely can give a scientific backing to.
Yes, definitely. Because if you look at number one, the data for everyone is your income. You are always questioning where is it going to. What are your outcome points? Your outgoing expenses, where are they going to? So claims is a major expense. So who collects the claims? The majority of the claims is going to hospitals. So you then look at, okay, so if we set up our own hospitals, we can guarantee some of that claims is coming to us. You're also looking at what are the outcomes in terms of care given. There are some hospitals that you cannot guarantee the quality of care that is given. So you want to control the quality of care. So that's the basis for which a lot of people go into that.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it from a business sense.
All right.
And then also looking at it long term. The generation that we are going to be dealing with in the next 10, 20 years is already doing a lot of online virtual things. So you then find the new talk and the new trend is telemedicine.
Yeah.
So you then find now some HMOs are doing heavy partnerships on telemedicine. But for me, if you look at the pain point of Nigeria, people have started hospitals.
Yeah.
One of the greatest costs right now in medical care is drugs, consumables, diagnostics. Those costs are real. Now, the challenge is people have hospitals almost everywhere. Top level diagnostics are not everywhere. Top level drugs are not distributed everywhere. So that's why for me, it's another direction that I would probably want to
looking at.
Yes, to solve problems. So that's why.
Okay, fantastic, fair enough, and sounds interesting. With regards to decision making and challenges, can you share a recent decision that you found quite challenging to make, but you had to make it anyways?
Okay, so one of the things that people don't deal well with is change. So for us, for instance, we need to continue to move up in terms of our technological utilization, right? Uptake of technology has to continue to improve. And so it became a major conversation because technology itself is not necessarily cheap.
Definitely.
Right? So it's a major decision to say this technology that we are on is no longer serving our purpose. It's easy to say, look, we're comfortable at this level. But the truth is every organization must be seeking to grow, to improve, and to reach more. Right? So if we're trying to do that, then we need to also look at the technology that will help us to achieve this and back it up. So it was a major conversation, board level, management level, even at the end of the day, operational level, just to say to people, we need to. So it's a major conversation, but it's a decision that we need to take at GNI Healthcare Limited. And it's a major change on that.
So were you able to take it?
Yes. Number one is you have to first be convinced that the direction that you're going makes sense. Back it up with data, back it up with your reports and everything. And then once you have done that, you also need to talk to every arm. So from the ground floor,
all the stakeholders,
every stakeholder.
Management in that
transaction. So when you do all of that, then the final people, major people, your board, you need to
sell the idea to them and ensure they buy it.
Sometimes it takes more than one board meeting to do that. So, but
that must have been challenging there. I got you there.
It was. But I want to just say that that's one of the benefits when boards and management can have a strong
collaboration.
It always helps a lot. And at GNI Healthcare, I think I have a good handshake.
That's good luck for you, and I really wish you the very best.
Thank you
as you navigate this journey.
Thank you very much.
So with regards to risk taking,
yes,
can you tell me what your approach looks like, and not just you, what's your global approach as an organization to taking risk? Because this is why you could show up at an organization as a chief operating officer, and you could be a risk taker, and then in that organization they are not open to such. They begin to sort of face troubled waters and all of those kinds of things. So what has your experience been? Have you been able to sort of get the similar kinds of expectations that you came in, that if you are a risk taker, and is it a welcoming idea in your current role and current space?
Okay, so number one, let me define myself in terms of risk. I think primarily I have a huge risk appetite. Primarily, I test things, I try things. I remember this side. My wife will testify that when I was younger, if I happened to be in an environment where I could become a race car driver, I probably would have ended up as a race car driver. However, I also found that there's a second side of me, the side that also considers balance. Right? So what I do is when I have huge risks that I feel like, I then want to look at the data. I want to be sure that on a baseline there's some data supporting the direction that I'm going to. I will not force the data to fit where I'm going. I would rather take time to navigate and be sure that data is going. But nonetheless, I want to be as much as possible an early mover in risks. So when I now go to the organization, typically the insurance industry in Nigeria is conservative, and I come from that background, right? So GNI Healthcare Limited is a subsidiary to Green Nigeria Insurance PLC. So, and it's important that we understand the basis of that conservativeness. It's the idea that you want to be sure that people's funds are safe. You want to be sure that the promises you make, you don't overexert yourself, and so you can fulfill those promises. However, what I found out is people want to achieve. Boards want to achieve. Definitely. It then becomes my responsibility to say,
you also want to achieve.
I want to achieve.
Definitely.
So it becomes my responsibility to say, this direction that we want to take, or that I think we should take, is my responsibility to be able to say, this is the data, this is what we've done. If possible, request for a pilot, or carry out a pilot.
Yeah.
That way, on a small scale, that risk can be observed and then taken. There are some times when the risk will be taken without so much, the more trust your board has with you, or the more trust your people have with you, because there are some risks that are not board level decision making, the operational level. So it's important that you retain that. Those who become the best, number one, they have to take risks.
Yeah, I agree.
So we do take risks. We challenge ourselves. I challenge myself, but it's important that you prepare yourself. Your people have to be prepared, your systems have to be prepared to deal with outcomes. And I think Nigeria has helped us. The things we face in Nigeria, COVID helped us. We are more nimble and agile, more of us deal with technology. So we are better prepared to take more risks.
I quite agree with you, and you really sound calculated and organized, because I could just get the feelers, and I believe you must be churning out value to your employers. I believe they are lucky to have you. Yeah, because you've just been able to defend what it takes by not exposing them unduly,
Yes.
and appreciating the fact that they already exist in a conservative background,
Yes.
which you are not, which you are supportive of,
Yes.
and then you are enabling that to also drive your perspective and your views, around the risk thing, because the business you run is a risk business.
It is.
Yeah, so it's important that you are able to create a balance, like you said, and I think that's value to GNI.
Yes, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
so let's talk about how you build a high performance team and how you encourage future leaders. Dr. Frank,
Yes.
you are currently the Chief Operating Officer at GNI Healthcare. Are you able to figure out and confirm that on a daily basis you are putting in those efforts that will give you future leaders, and then you can have a healthy succession plan, you can have people that you also fall back on, because no leader is perfect. A leader cannot be strong all the time. I believe that you should be able to build people that when you look back, you are not alone, as against you standing out, oh, I'm the COO, and you're just highfalutin, and then the next people to you are just really nothing to write home about. So how are you building a strong, high-performing team and future leaders at GNI Healthcare?
I feel the direction that you're speaking of, and for me, that's why it's critical that every organization that I am part of must understand the role of training. Training cannot be overemphasized.
I agree.
Interesting, I didn't think about that we'll go in this direction. This morning, I sent out to the group platform, to two different platforms. One work, one church, private. So the work platform I sent out, same thing, growth mindset. I saw a Forbes article that I read. Apparently I read it before, but I just came across it again. I read it again.
And it resonated.
So I said, no, I need to send it to
the guys.
So,
Yeah.
and even I sent it, I expect that on Monday, I'm going to call a few leaders and say, have you read it? If you have read it, speak. It's important that we continue to pour into people. Some people have innate skills, capacities, but they just need a hand around their shoulder, somebody to say, guide them this direction, that direction. So it's critical for me. Because again, if you want to achieve, what I've noticed, you can't achieve alone. You can't. If you build people around you, it makes your life easier. So right now in GNI Healthcare Limited, there are some people that I am already working closely. I talk to everybody. I'm hands-on. I come into the office. There's no table, desk, no one.
Put up your shoulder, get the work done.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
But there's some people that I call again. I do remember some things I also do really frequently. I'll open the window. I'll point to big brands, organizations. I'll ask questions about the person's vision. What I found out is if you want people to grow and expand, show them a vision of the future bigger than what they themselves see. So when you then give instructions, they see it in that light, that if I achieve this, I can become that thing they have shown me. Because not all of us come from backgrounds where you are enabled. There are backgrounds you come from where they tell you you can't do it.
Yeah.
So, to give you an example, when I first joined GNI Healthcare Limited, one of the challenges I faced with some staff, they felt that certain things will not change, either culture or certain achievements will not be done. I understand your background, but I'm not coming from your background. I'm coming from my background, and there are certain things I've gotten used to doing. I remember reading a book and watching something, and the person says you are going for a meeting. You go to the meeting, it's supposed to be a bid or something, and you're starting to feel nervous. You notice so many people. Take 5 minutes, enter the restroom, and get your game face back. You tell yourself, I can win, I've won. The same way, you need to do it for other people. Show them.
Yeah.
Show them. So I take my time. It's a journey with some people. But what also, like I shared before, sometimes I'll share articles, sometimes I'll give you a book, sometimes I'll register team members for certain trainings. The idea is this training from the outside looks good for you. So I also believe that HR comes into play. A good organizational structure must have HR that is constantly touching the pulse of the people, where they are at their personal development levels, where they are at their group levels. If they're not growing, the organization will not grow. I'll give an example for myself. I recently registered for next year, from February to 12 weeks. I registered for a mini MBA. It's something I want to, I've done my MBA before, but it's something that I want to continue to do year on year.
Continuous development.
I saw a podcast or an interview of one of our presidential candidates in the past. Peter Obi, yes, Mr. Peter Obi. At that time, I think he was just chairman of Fidelity Bank and all of that. And he mentioned that every year he looks for a business school and he registers. So he's looking for global information. He's looking to get his mind bigger. I think that number one, from the top down, everyone must seek that. Then when the top is doing that, the top must also now get their people. You know, the strength of your team is your weakest link. So identify people's weaknesses. So again, another thing I do from time to time is I rotate people. Okay. For me, it's a big deal. I want to move people from one. I feel there's stagnation that happens when someone is in marketing 10 years and they don't know anything else. You will appreciate the marketing better the day you move for 6 months and you're doing operations.
Yeah.
The operations person becomes better, more agile in dealing with things when he sees the perspective of his work with the eyes of a marketer. So sometimes that rotation helps. It makes things better. So those are things that I try to do.
All right, that sounds good enough. But this rotation that you spoke about, I was just wondering if you could clarify. You know, these days, like you are a dentist and you are a health insurance expert.
Yes.
If I were to describe you, so if you're moving someone from sales, so to say, after staying there for about 10 years to operations, probably not by their own request, what happens to the career path? Or how do you manage that? What's the arrangement?
Okay.
What are you trying to sort of get at doing that?
The idea is you're building a big, strong organization.
All right.
That's your long-term vision. That organization must have capacities that are multifaceted. People must have multiple skill sets.
Oh, I see.
So if a guy has been in sales 10 years, if he never sees the other side, one day he may become MD.
Yeah.
How does he manage the other side? So it's critical. But medicine, you went through it too as well. In medicine, rotation is part of what you do.
Definitely.
You go through different departments.
Yeah.
Eventually, you then stick to one.
Yeah.
But when you stick to one, you have knowledge and you can relate with every other unit and department. So the idea with their career path is not to break it.
Okay.
So if someone is a core professional in the field, you don't take them away for too long.
Okay. Just to test the water.
Let them find out. But the bigger the organization is, what I've also found out is if you are going into management eventually, it is critical that you have these exposures.
I agree. I also have such an experience at some point. So I quite agree. I just for the sakes of our audience, I needed sort of a clarification, and I am happy that I asked that question, and it's clearer now. So it doesn't seem as though you are trying to maybe take people off, but I think it's on the bigger picture, and it makes a lot of sense.
And people need to understand it.
Yes.
Sometimes adversity is actually what you need. Too many people think that when situations don't favor them at work, or it's not what they really want, then they just give up, or they just quit, or they just stop performing. Sometimes you have that adversity. You may not be able to get 100%, but when you push, you break envelopes, you break barriers in your mind, you break barriers in the things you did not even think you could achieve. You are better able to build bridges with people because you've worked in their shoes. So it helps.
I agree. Thank you so much for putting light on that one. Let's talk about work-life balance. That's a big one. You are now the Chief Operating Officer at Great Nigeria Healthcare, and I can imagine some days where you have to get in so early, close really late, have so much to do. They say it's bad to take work home. Well, I don't know. That's why I'm going to ask you this question anyways. So how has it been? How have you been able to stay motivated, carrying out these challenges as the Chief Operating Officer, balancing the work, family, personal life? I also know you do a lot with church and all of those things, socially as well, friends, family, extended family members, without people saying, oh, because Frank now got this job, we no longer hear from him. And you begin to have relationship issues, and you sit at work one day and you're like, I'm not getting along with this person, I'm feeling affected. Things begin to just roll around. So how are you able to ensure that everything is kept in a uniform status as it probably used to be, and then you are still happy, focused, and then you are delivering the mandate to your board?
I think that balance, I'll start from the core. There has to be a core. Each person must know what their core is. For me, the first place of balance is my relationship with God. So it creates, there's no shake. And so once I have that, it becomes understandable. But as one grows, you need to learn a lot. What are the things you prioritize? Number one, I prioritize my marriage. I prioritize my wife. All right. In prioritizing my wife, it doesn't. So I intentionally try to create time for her. I intentionally try to create opportunities for her. I intentionally try to back her. So what that does for me is, then my home life, there's fulfillment, balance, peace.
Yeah, which is really massive.
And so it's critical.
Yeah.
So I go to the next one, my children. So I feel that with children as they grow, you need to constantly talk to them so they understand what you do, how you do, so what your limits are, what you can do. So once you have that, so what I do is, there are times when we binge. Oh, it's time, let's go and watch TV together. We do it. So it allows that the days you are not there, they don't feel you are missing. Once in a while, take them out. They know these are our takeout time. That is for us. You are not always going to be there, but they are okay with that. Things that are important to them, make sure the rest of your life knows. So there are times when I may have to take time off because I must be at my child's school event. But it's not going to be every time. So the day you are away at work, they may not be happy, but they don't resent it to the point where it becomes an imbalance. So that's that. When it now comes to work, the truth is that there are certain times when you must take work home. However, what you must do is you must ensure that it's not every time. So as much as possible, what leads to that is you must trust people.
Delegate.
Build systems. I prefer building systems to building human beings. What I mean by that is a lot of people like to get high flyers. High flyers are excellent. If I'm recruiting, I don't necessarily have to have a high flyer. I would rather try to make the system a high flying one. So when people come in, I can trust what will happen. Okay, so if for instance I have someone who is handling claims, we might have one very exceptional claims person. Oh, but once that person should leave that your system, everything's out of kilt. No, I would rather structure it. The claim system is going on. Whoever comes in becomes plug and play. You respect them, you promote, you encourage, you bless, you are happy for them, you do everything with them, but it must be a system. And so that's for me because it helps me. So once I've created that system, I can be monitoring remote. I can do on-the-spot checks. I don't have to see everything every moment. But until you get to that point, maybe having that team, some imbalance, but you must strive for that. So for me, that helps me. Then I mentioned that I deal with a core, 1 or 2 people, 3 people that I've picked out as we're on the same wavelength. I build them so that they will transmit the message.
Yeah.
So I spend
like an executive sort of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes I pick people, sometimes outside the executive, depending on the. So let me give you an example as base as possible. Typically you have little relationship with the core of drivers, okay. But you might have one driver, and so that driver, you say something, that driver will percolate your message. Say you have things like that. So I'm not going to micromanage anybody or anything, but as much as possible, when it comes to me being able to trust teams, trust performance, trust that when issues are going on, there will be feedback, real life. I do that. Finally, I do not take myself too seriously. People must be able to approach me.
Yeah.
What causes What causes an imbalance sometimes is you are the only one that can do it, you are the only one that can solve it. So when issues arise, people can tell me if I'm doing something wrong, people can show me directions, I will discuss. In fact, there was a time when a staff accused me, Dr. Frank, you will not accept what we are saying, yet you will tell us to tell you. And I said, no, when you tell me, I have to think it through.
Process it.
So, but not everyone allows people to be able to tell them such a thing.
Yeah.
I tell them, please tell me. Because sometimes I've had to apologize. I think you guys were actually right in this scenario. I'm sorry.
Wow. That's really impressive. Humility at its best. That's really good. Yeah, so it's been a great time chatting with you. The insights, I believe, our viewers and our listeners, our followers would have gained a lot, from your wealth of experience. So this is that time where you can say something about your brand or do,
yes,
people to know more about your organization.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we're GNI Healthcare Limited. We're an HMO. We've been in the business now for going on more than almost 2 decades. We belong to a strong group that is the Great Nigeria Insurance PLC. Our hunger is to ensure that Nigeria is properly covered when it comes to healthcare, and people don't have to always bother about how do they pay for quality healthcare. So anyone who joins our platform, anyone who registers with us on any of our plans, you can rest assured that you have 24/7 support. When you go to hospitals, you can talk to us. We will also monitor your health status and all of that so that we can give you support. We want to make sure you are healthy. So if you are an HR there, you need to understand that you want a team like GNI Healthcare Limited that will support you and ensure that you have a healthy workforce. So that's what we do. Hospitals, we got your back. We're always improving scenarios and situations to ensure that our partner hospitals also enjoy the partnership. So that's GNI Healthcare Limited.
Yeah, so this is Dr. Frank Ehalufo, and he's the Chief Operating Officer at GNI Healthcare, and he has just put up a word about his brand and his organization. So you can do well to follow him on his social handles if you want to put them out there, maybe your LinkedIn.
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, GNI Healthcare Limited is quite visible. And of course, you can find me Frankie Alfo on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so if you need to, chat to him on how to get his packages or reach out to him, feel free to contact him. So yes, thank you so much, Dr. Frank, once again. And for, all the special guests that come on our platform here at Sparksandblues, to inspire our viewers and our followers, we eventually have to definitely ask you our own brand question, which is, about the brand in particular, Sparksandblues. So yes, that is the time we have arrived at. It's a simple question, you don't need to bother, but then you will need to be able to, tell us those things. So yes, being the Chief Operating Officer at GNI, which you just, sort of attained in close to 2 years now, you've told us how, you were able to get your way up there. I believe that's a huge feat. I know and I'm aware that it's not an easy one to attain. There are, not everybody gets to the apex level of their career. So I give you those an accolade for that. You've done well. That's like, a good and great achievement. So on your role as the Chief Operating Officer at GNI, what has been your blues? Blues are those sort of disappointing moments, painful experiences on the job, on the role as the Chief Operating Officer that you've experienced, and how were you able to transform them into fulfillment, into happy moments, which are the sparks? That is what we stand for. So tell us, on your role as the Chief Operating Officer, the most intense blue experience you've had, and how you were able to come out of it, and then how you experience sparks moments here.
Okay, so I'm a medical person as well, so I'll move slightly more medical. One of the deepest challenges is when you are trying to help a team comes to you and maybe one of their staff is in the hospital and there's a challenge. Sometimes getting people to accept some basics. One of the major ones is, and this one is still affecting us in Nigeria, so I think that's why it's something, we still find a lot of people doing labor. Their wives are in labor. A lot of men still do not understand that it's okay to have a cesarean section. They feel like it's anti their faith. They feel like it makes them less men or their wives less women. On the contrary. So I want to use this actually because we are always happy when a pregnant woman is on our skin and delivers wonderful babies. And then on top of it, the blessing of having the lady herself healthy, go back home happy. Some of them even invite us for naming ceremonies, all right? But that blue is something that I think needs to be addressed. It is not against God's law. It doesn't make a woman less. In fact, your marriage is strengthened when you've gone through it together. I want to encourage men. Please allow your wives the right to get the best care on time, because time is important. Do not mistake it for anything. That's important. So that's the major blues that I've had to face. Sometimes convincing organizations to reach out to male staff, or sometimes it's the woman who is in the organization, the male is the husband somewhere else, and sometimes we're appealing just to ensure that everything goes well. But when it does go well, it becomes a major spark. And I believe that as a country, we're getting stronger and better. Our healthcare system is getting stronger and better because of the work that all of us in the healthcare space we are putting into it. Yes. Wow. I didn't see that coming. As a woman and of course as a midwife as well, that I am. I really didn't see that coming, but I can imagine. That felt really intense as you spoke, because, when a woman is in labor and if you are sort of helpless, maybe because of the financial aspect of their limits and things like that, and then
you are soliciting or requesting for commitment from, some parties, and it's becoming difficult. It's a serious situation that can actually make you, feel this blue moment. So I can imagine, because you don't want to lose a patient, you don't want to lose an NRP, and due to delays and things like that. And of course, hearing eventually that everything went well can definitely give you the spark.
Yes.
And this looks to me like a routine, like a daily spy. It looks like you really have to deal with it all the time. And it shows and further confirms to me that you are quite connected. And I think the board of directors and your management colleagues over there at GMI should be quite proud, because the example you gave just shows and confirms that you are really connected and committed to the day-to-day operations. Thank you very much, Dr. Frank, for stopping by.
Thank you,
and thank you so much for chatting to us and inspiring our numerous viewers out there.
It's a pleasure.
And I look forward to hearing bigger and greater news from your end and over there at GMI.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.